it's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Well, welcome back, listeners. I have Denise Leleux. Did I say that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah. With Curbee, she's the CEO, and she is very focused on mobile service. This has been a real hot topic in a lot of manufacturers, and of course, trickles down to the dealers, even some incentivizing. Like I know some of my Ford clients, they get like $160 back for any mobile service that they do. And I don't know if a lot of manufacturers are doing things like this. I'm actually curious because it does bring attention and awareness to this option. As everybody knows, I'm super dialed into customer experience and I'm looking for efficiencies. I love technology companies. We're going to get to know a little about mobile service and how that can be leveraged into an operation today where they increase their bottom line. And of course, please customers, because who doesn't want mobile service? Welcome, Denise.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Jen. I've heard a lot about you. Started recently listening to your podcast. I'm a big fan. So thrilled to be here and hopefully can connect with your audience.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I know that a lot of people are starting to think, how can I do mobile service? Mobile service in some of my dealer clients' dealerships has been, I would say, nothing short of challenging. It's probably a nice word to put it. It's been challenging for a lot of people. And some people think that it's going to be, just like basic services, and sometimes they get out there and then they realize they need more equipment. They're going to have to outfit their trucks with more equipment to be able to do some other services, and even just the efficiency of moving a technician from one location to the next and gaining the efficiency of the day to get as many jobs done as possible can present challenges. But tell me about the benefits of mobile service for dealerships and for customers, things that you've observed.
Yeah, great. So that's a lot to unpack. But if you think about, I'll start at the highest level with Curbee. What we're trying to do is really help dealers deploy and operate end-to-end mobile service profitably. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a key sentence, right? So end-to-end and profitably, as you say. And we do that through 3 ways, which is what we've learned, because we were doing this. A lot of our background was we did this at Tesla, where we built mobile service. Then we did it ourselves to build out what the experience needed to be, what the technology needed to be. And now our only clients are automotive dealers. Mm-hmm. And so we operate through dealers for what we teach them how to do it. And we do it through 3 ways. So we have a SaaS technology component. We have the playbooks, processes, and standards. So everything that a dealer needs to know. And then we also are integrating into the DMSs. So we're integrating into Techion, CDK is coming, and then we'll follow on with the rest. So when you talk about, what are the big opportunities and obstacles in mobile service, it's that end-to-end. It's the demand gen. How do you get customers to know that they can do mobile service?
Okay.
In the driveway. And then, for me, it always starts with the dealer to say, what op codes do you want to offer mobily? And that's where, if they tell us that, what are the goals and objectives of your dealership? What op codes do you want to deliver mobile service? And then we help them kit the van. We can help them make sure that they're never leaving without the proper tooling and equipment, especially specialized equipment for some brands. And then it goes, and then it just flows right through. And so, MPVI, being able to upsell in the drive, and then closing that RO. So it's the end to end.
So let me just go back to the original question. If I'm a dealer and I am not involved in mobile service, I'm not aware of the benefits of it. What are the benefits of mobile service for a dealership?
Sure. Sorry, I got hung up on the obstacles. The benefits of mobile service, one is just you can get more throughput. So you can take those easier jobs and put them mobily, so that the customers are getting that transparent and very convenient service in their driveway. Mm-hmm. There's also the trust through transparency. So the technician in a dealership is often not talking to the customer directly. But when you're in their driveway, you can show them, this is
Mm.
your dirty air filter. This is
Mm-hmm.
your 12-volt battery that needs to be replaced. These are your tires and the tread depth and why they need to be replaced. So it's building that trust through transparency.
Mm.
And then I think
Like
another
that.
benefit for dealers is that dealerships often lose customers after the warranty period. This is a
Yes.
great way to get them back.
Oh, okay. That's a great target because for me, I travel every week. So I'm like this perfect candidate. I always do pickup and delivery for my services. I never go to the service department. I can't. um, and, but it would be if. So I think, when one thing that you mentioned, you're like, we need to bring awareness to this, that when a service BDC or service advisor is setting an appointment, they know what op codes that they've targeted and that this could be a service for this customer. A lot of times customers don't even know that they're getting mobile because it simply isn't being stated at time of appointment. Personally, for me, I would just be thrilled if somebody said, yeah, we'll just do the oil change on your drive, and that would actually bring me back over and over and over, because it's one of the biggest gripes a customer has is, I don't want to wait around in the dealership.
That's right. Absolutely. And so bring the dealership and the customers, since the pandemic, there's just been this massive proliferation of things that you can get done in your driveway. My dog
Okay.
gets groomed in the driveway. My groceries get
That's
delivered.
true.
All of these things happen. So customers are starting to have an awareness to it.
Yeah.
And so why not? And so
Mm-hmm.
what we learned at Tesla was push everything you can out of the service drive and into mobile. And then only bring back into the service drive what you have to.
So tell me, based on your experience in working in dealerships, what would you say, because I get mixed reviews on this one, what would you say are the more profitable, and I don't even know if that's even the right word, because I know we're fighting for loyalty here, but what are the services that you're finding to be the most used and more popular and easier to conduct on a drive?
So anything that you don't need to do a 4-post lift, you should consider doing for mobile. And
Okay.
that's everything from, oil changes, brakes, batteries, belts, tires. So when we were doing our development centers, we had 3 tire vans
Mm-hmm.
where we could mount and balance tires in the field.
Mm-hmm.
You can't align yet in the field, but you can mount and balance. And so those are huge, especially for
Mm.
EVs.
Okay, so we've identified some of these targeted areas that I know ties up time in the dealership. So there's 2 problems that I see in the service department. One, it's tough to get an appointment in many dealerships still today. So this is the offset, and this is where it becomes so beneficial for a dealer to add this service for their clientele. But also, I find that we have a difficulty with manning the technician space. And so we oftentimes are held up with jobs, or we're not able to do things very quickly. That's kind of the key word, is doing things quickly, regardless of even technicians' availability. But even for dealers, I think they still struggle with quick lube lane.
Yeah. And I think to your point, it really does. It starts with what is the dealer's. I always start any conversation with the dealer. What are your objectives? What are your goals
Okay.
this year?
Yeah.
And it tends to be, I want more customer pay. I want
Uh-huh.
higher satisfaction. I want new conquest for sales and for service. I
Mm-hmm.
want to expand geographically, but I don't have the capital or I don't have the actual space.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if a dealer has one or more of those objectives for the year, mobile service, you don't need multiple programs. Mobile service captures all of those goals and objectives in one program. And you just need to think of it as a new line of business.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see that, because I think it's its own little profit center, that van
Yeah,
that's out there doing its thing.
yeah, it's like a bay on wheels, right?
Not
You can
only
think
that,
about
but it's
it.
a marketing tool.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
It's a huge marketing tool for
Yeah,
dealers.
I agree, and you got to get the word out. People don't know about stuff like this, and they're not used to having this option. And I think even internally, we struggle with scores, especially when people are waiting around or they have a certain level of expectation of when their car is going to get done. And so this really tackles customer experience and CSI. Tell me what you've seen as far as customer experience scores on mobile. What have you seen?
Well, I'll tell you two quick things. One is when we were doing our development center, we had a 90 NPS for mobile service. And it's not just one thing. It's easy to find, easy to book, great communication. The technician showed up on time, was
Yeah.
well presented. You had the right tools fixed right first time. Like all of that happens, and that's the experience that will help you build. And
Mhm.
that is what was getting a 90 NPS for us. The other story, real quick story,
Yeah.
with a dealer, and they were like, "Can you kind of come show us what it's all about?" So we did. So we were operating in the field. I'm talking to the GM, and a customer or a driver pulls up, rolls down his window, and he says, "You should have bought X brand," because he thought the car was like inoperable. And we kind of, what are you talking about? This is actually, we're doing a mobile oil change.
Oh.
And the customer, this driver was just like, "What? You can do this what? You can come to my house?" And so this was not a setup. And
Mhm.
the person said, I said, "Well, when was the last time you had an oil change?" And he said, "Yesterday." He happened to have one yesterday. And I said, "What would you have done if we would have come to you?" And I used the dealer's name. And he
Yeah.
said, "I would have played the guitar." And so, and we said, "Well, great. Well, next time think of this dealer and call
Mhm.
them for a mobile service appointment." And he said, "Think about it next time. Next time I'm going to buy my car there." And
Oh, wow.
he drove away. And
Mhm.
so the dealer's like, "Sign me up. I'm good."
In switching gears just a little bit, but it just brought top of mind. I work in both sales and service, and a lot of times, especially at this moment, I'm pursuing the sales team in prospecting their database, not only to secure loyalty, but also to just stay in touch. Now, a lot of times, salespeople don't want to call customers because they don't know what to say. They have a hard time with birthdays and anniversaries of the car, but they're always been taught to call for referrals. And I look at that as a taker strategy. I'm a giver. I'm into the giver strategy. What can I give of value? So this is actually a great point that when you have mobile service, where I would suggest that the sales team gets in contact with their database, with their clientele, and says, "Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This is a great opening to actually prospect for customers to, get them into a new car." But it starts off with, "Hey, I just wanted to give you updated on some of the new advancements in our facility. I wanted you to be aware that we're offering mobile service now, which means, and I noticed you're 15 miles from us, so you qualify. And I wanted you to know that it's available to you now." A lot of customers want to take advantage of it because it saves them time, because it's just more efficient. You can get on with your day and not have to worry about picking up your car or waiting for it. There's a lot of great things that can be done here when this service is offered in a dealership.
Yeah, I think two other things that came to mind as you were saying that, Jen. One is you could always, as you sell the vehicle, is do the first oil change and just either comp it or do the first oil
Ooh,
change for mobile. They'll
bring
never
it
come
out.
back. Like they'll never go back to the dealer. They'll
Oh, I
just
agree.
automatically know that's the way you service.
Yeah.
The other thing on the service side might be a little bit of a taker strategy, but if
Mm-hmm.
your technician's out there,
Mm-hmm.
one, if they have a little bit of time between appointments and
Mm-hmm.
there's a second vehicle in the driveway, they can always say, "Would you like a complimentary health check or MPVI?" And
Yeah.
worst case, you can just take a picture of the VIN so that you have it captured for your dealership. And now you can start marketing to them.
Wow. Okay. That was some details right there. By the way, I call that a hunter strategy. I am
Okay.
always hunting for the opportunity, and I'm fanning on that. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, you actually got me thinking about another thing when you said that, is that we have a lot of service BDCs right now setting appointments, and uh the one of the biggest gripes for customers is they, especially on declined work, okay? I know that won't work for everything, but let's just say you had a targeted op code and you can do some recalls, I'm sure, some software updates and stuff like this on the so on at the customer's house. And so, when we get pushback for, "I was already in your dealership for 5 hours," and it's like, "Oh, but wait,
We'll
I've
come to
got this
you.
thing. We'll come to you." Uh, Now I thought of another thing, okay? Because this is such a huge, big operation in our service departments and service BDC. But you're gonna have people too that are, as you mentioned, they're going to come up on that warranty, and this is where they bounce. This is where they bail, and we're always trying to secure that moment. So for the first 3 years, we're trying to nurture relationships on the drive and la la la. But what if our service BDC was calling soon to be expired warranties just to let them know,
Right.
that, or coming up expired maintenance contracts that we have this service. I think there's just more to this story than just mobile service, but it's a way to stay connected with your customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And customers love it. They
Mhm.
will be loyal. And when we were doing our development centers, customers were coming back 3.2 times a year.
Wow.
Um, and just, we weren't doing warranty and recall because we
Hmm.
were kind of seeing that post-warranty work. But
Hmm.
I do think that warranty and recall is a great way to embed
Hmm.
yourself into the customer experience and keep them for life. We talked
Hmm.
to one OEM. They'd done some research that if a customer had been active within the last 12 months at a dealership, they were
Hmm.
2x likely to buy from that same dealer and that same brand.
Hmm.
So it pays. It's a strategy that pays.
Yeah, love it. Well, okay, so we're talking about all the great things that happen with mobile service, but let's talk some of the challenges, because I certainly know that there's challenges. And in working with Tesla, where, in your past, and you may even, talk to some of this, you're focused on customer experience at Tesla. You're part of, I think when they originally launched the product, they would service the cars at customers' homes. And I'm sure that that is probably what inspired Curbee to be born. I'm certain that you've seen a lot of challenges even with Tesla, but tell me about some of the challenges that dealerships are facing as they really take on this initiative.
Yeah, the biggest, and it's going to sound cliche-ish, but the biggest challenge is leadership and focus.
Mm-hmm.
And saying it's going to be a new line of business and that change management that comes along with it. Dealers are very busy up and down the chain, from a
Mm-hmm.
BDC, parts, service advisors, managers, et cetera. Everybody's super busy. You can't pile this on as one more thing. So
Mm.
it needs to be like focus, and leaders need to, agree that they're going to unblock the blockers, because there are things that are going to happen. You do learn with every appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's really the change management, the leadership, and the commitment that a dealer makes that we're going to get this right. We're going to practice, and we're going to do it until we're going to get the sets and reps until we're successful. Because it's easy when we walk away, we'll train you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
easy when we walk away for people to go, I have 14 fires that I need to put out. I'll get to mobile service tomorrow. And then
Okay.
tomorrow becomes another day. So it's the
Okay.
biggest challenge and hurdle.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially in the service departments, these departments are incredibly
Very,
busy.
very
Yeah, and the
busy.
service directors and managers got their hands full with just more than enough that's going on back there. So, in sharing some of the things to be mindful of, if you were to advise me, I'm a dealer and I'm getting into this, and you're going to just shoot me the reel. You're like, okay, look, this is the breakdown outside of leadership buy-in and maintenance
Mhm.
that's required. Their focus, their attention, their commitment. What would you say so for me, I see some of the challenges with finding the right tech. Who is this guy? We got to trust this guy to show up. And let me tell you, I know a lot of technicians, and I've seen a lot of technician videos. Woo! I don't know. A lot of these people, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to send this guy out. He's going to represent your multi-million-dollar brand. What do you see as struggles?
Absolutely. And I don't think of those as struggles. I really think of those as opportunities, because we can help you with a role profile. We know what kind of technician strategy works. We can
Mm-hmm.
help train them with front of house skill and behaviors of how to show up, knock on the door, step back. Like, we can teach all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's one. I think there are other opportunities around, crawl, run, walk, or crawl, walk, run. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you do sets and reps in the back lot. So you take some off if you're starting with oil changes, you take them off of the express lane, you do them in the back lot. We'll help you. We'll teach you how to do that. Then you do
Mm-hmm.
friends and family. Then you start to do maybe fleets. Then you want to start in with your consumer. So it just depends. It always starts with what's the dealer's objectives.
Mm-hmm.
what op codes they want to start with. And that will drive the van, the kitting, the technician. And then again, we'll help you with problem solving. How do you break down getting 7 appointments per van per day? And we'll help you break that down into different, marketing objectives as well.
So is that I mean, I see a lot of people be able to do 4. They're trying to reach to 5 to 6. Is your target 7?
I think, any like really good dealer is probably trying to get to 7. And that really starts with the technology on the back end around the routing, because most dealers aren't getting past 4 because they're using a Google spreadsheet, they're using math, and they're doing all of this with pen and paper. We started with pen and paper. We've developed the technology, and now that routing is going to keep moving until you get to the most dense route for a dealership. To get that profitability. But you need probably 5 or 6 appointments per van per day to get to a profitable van. And then again, the technology solution is all around making sure that it's super efficient so that you don't have this exploding back office in having to run your program, that it's super streamlined.
Okay, you got me thinking. So, how do you who's the optimum candidate to be this technician? Who is this guy? Because we're not doing major service work, but at the same time, we're not just doing, oil changes. What's the experience level look like that's been a success?
Yeah, for us, we always found C-level techs were best.
Okay.
And for what we were doing, again, different OEMs are also going to have different requirements. So if some OEMs might say you need to be fully trained, you need certification. Like it'll depend. Again, it kind of starts. You have to think about the OEM, but it really starts with what are the op codes the dealer wants to offer. We have one dealer thinking about it just as diag, so that they're going to go out, they're going to do diag, so that when the car comes in for service, they already have the parts, they already know what's wrong. It's super efficient. So instead of waiting 2 to 3 hours, they're waiting 45 minutes.
So you must be targeting a specific type of year, make, and model or mileage to say, let's pursue calling this customer to see if we can do an on-site diag. Is that right?
No, it wasn't like, it's more the customers calling in and saying, I don't know what's wrong, or, or maybe the technicians are, close to retirement, but they don't want to retire, but they also don't want a full schedule in the bay.
Okay.
And so they're putting them in a van and they're doing the diag. So again, it's all up to the dealer though. What are you trying to accomplish? Okay. And then let's help you build the program around that. That's what's going to be most successful. Us coming in and saying, this is what you do is not going to be successful because they're not bought in. So we want to teach dealers how to buy in, how to run a new line of business, and how to have that accountability throughout.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of moving parts to this, so I can see why there would be challenges to it. I'm just so curious about this because you got me, I'm thinking about this technician going out there, having maybe worked in the dealership, then thinking about retirement, or maybe we pulled him out of retirement. We've got a C-level tech. How do you pay this guy?
So that is something that every dealership has to think about. Most mentality is around flat rate. We find flat rate isn't the best model. It's either hourly or some type of, base plus commission or other things. So when we did our development centers, we did an hourly rate. We paid an hourly rate.
And then I'm guessing you would bonus them based on being able to get to that, if you're stuck at 4, 5th, 6th, 7th service.
Yeah. So again, we paid them hourly for the full shift. We did not, because again, remember, thinking for us, we were doing a development center. We want to build this so that we can then offer it to dealers. And so we didn't want to complicate things with bonus or commissions. So we put straight, just did it straight. Most dealers do have something in mind when we talk to them, whether it is still paying flat rate all the way down. And they, flat rate, they might want to focus on just doing fleets so that the windshield time is super low. And they're just doing, mostly kind of billable hours.
Okay. Understood. So in your experience, I can just see this. I'm just picturing a lot of my service directors, and we're just plopping this thing out there. I'm even thinking about the dealership I was at last week, which is, a top 9 store, BMW store in the country. It's big operation. And they've got a service manager and they got a service director. I mean, they've got, So many people back here. And I'm just thinking about these guys right now. We hit them with the mobile service. I imagine that it's going to require the general manager to be significantly, because you know how sometimes they get a product and they're like, okay, that's yours, you own it. But if I put it in, a busy service director manager's lap without the general manager, even the operator, and tell me what you think on that.
Yeah, I just think that it's important we find a lot of the dealer principals or the, general managers, they want to be involved. It's new, it's shiny. It's going to be this great thing to bring back loyalty, to bring joy back to car ownership, it's another service bay. So it's an investment, so we find that people do want to be involved.
Okay.
What I would say is you just want them to continuously be involved.
That's the thing.
So, right.
Because you're going to have operational challenges. I've seen people implement this, and it sounds like a great idea, but then, it takes time to get the van. What van are we using? How are we equipping it? How long is it going to take to fit it the way that we want it? To decide on what services. And it doesn't mean that even if we decide on the services the first run, that's what we're going to end up with, because I do think it's a trial and error based on personnel, based on just learning new processes and everything that goes with it. But sometimes, so you were saying that you really need to have that other set of eyes heavily involved in the in that period where you're really trying to get a definite process.
Yeah, and I think one thing, Jen, we find a lot is with again, we had a dealer, one of our first dealers. He said, "Look, I just want to do oil changes and tire rotations. Everything else, I want it to go back to the bay." And so we literally just went out back and picked a van, a car, a vehicle, and we helped him kit it for less than $5,000. And he put a magnet on the side that said his dealership, and we got started. Now we have other dealers who are saying, "I want to go full in. I want the tire rotation or tire mountain balance. I want the the biggest van. It's over $100,000 investment." And then, and they want to go with that. And then we have everything in between. And then, you have OEMs who have vehicles that they're already kitting out. I mean, we would say, it is a trial and learn process, and it's just a continuous learning. And so we would say, start, and we can help you kit for the jobs and the op codes that you want to do. And then just keep adding and keep adding and keep, and keep adding.
Yeah.
But start, just start. But if you don't start, you won't learn. And you can, again, start in the back lot where
I like that.
You can actually put the extra tool if you need it. So just pick a few cars out of the express lane, get started. Again, we have best practices. You think about in the bay, you have everything you need, but in the field, just a best practice, like wear 2 gloves when you're taking the oil filter out, so that if you can take 1 glove, take the filter off, put it in a Ziploc bag, but you still have your hand gloved. Like little things like that are just tips and tricks that we've learned throughout the years that we can help when we're on site.
Great. I love it. I mentioned earlier that this company was sort of born from experienced people working like you at Tesla. And I'm wondering, while you were at Tesla, and even, some of your executive leadership, were there certain lessons or strategies from Tesla's mobile service model that inspired Curbee? Like, how does Curbee become a needed product for dealers?
Yeah, so at Tesla, we did it out of necessity. I'll be really quick. We did it out of necessity in that the Model 3 was coming out. And so we weren't going to have enough space in our service drives to do the S, the X, and the 3, and the Y hadn't even come out yet. And so we needed to have more investment for service centers around the world. This wasn't even, this was around the world. And we didn't have the money as a company to do that. And so we had to go figure something else out. So we tried to say, well, let's fix it in the driveway and put another constraint while the customer's drinking a cup of coffee. And then we went back a few weeks later and we found out that 80% of what was happening on the vehicle, we weren't using it. We didn't need a 4-post lift. So we said, well, we don't need to be in the parking lot We actually don't need to be in the service drive either. We can actually go to the customer. And what
Hmm.
we learned very quickly is that was not a 3 answer. Everybody wanted it.
Hmm.
SX, Roadster, every customer wanted mobile service because of what you said. It brought joy, it brought transparency, it brought convenience, time savings, all these things.
Mhm.
And I think one of the 2 lessons I would say we learned. One, people thought, oh, well, it's an integrated OEM. It's Tesla, it's EV.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to prove through Curbee that it was for ICE, EV, any maker model, any brand, that everybody, this is really a customer experience thing, and
Hmm.
that we could bring joy back to car ownership by getting things done in your driveway. And the second thing I would say I really learned that we should really try and stress with dealers is that, at first we left it to the service centers to book the appointments and book them into mobile. But what we found was the traditional way of thinking, which is I want to fill up all my bays and I'll only
Right.
push out what is overflow into mobile service. And it's quite the opposite strategy. You
Hmm.
want, because then now your customers are confused. Last time I could get my brakes done mobily. Now I have to bring it in. I don't understand. I thought this was mobile service. So you actually want, based on the op codes you're going to offer, you want to push as much of that volume into mobile service and then fill up your
Keep
bays
it
with the rest of the
consistent.
work. So keep it
Ab-
consistent. Really train your customers
hmm.
that they can get this done in the driveway.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I can see that going the other direction. Agree, because people hang on to stuff, and especially if you experience something, you expect it to happen just the same way the next time.
That's right. 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 And we can help you with, instead of with safety cones, you have the kind of flags because people will stop and they'll ask your technician, what are you doing? How do I
Hmm.
get this done? How can you come do my car? So
Hmm.
you get a lot of just drive by. I mentioned the story about the one guy, who said, I'm going to buy my car from this dealership next time.
Yeah.
So, it's a great advertisement
Hmm.
for your dealership as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, that most people don't really expect that this is going to be a thing. I think it's super new. I mean, I don't see it as a primary offering in a lot of the stores that I go into. So, in thinking about that, how do we get more adoption in the industry? Obviously, bringing awareness to it is one thing, but I see that some manufacturers are incentivizing. I don't know a lot about that. You probably know much more about that than I do, but how do we get adoption? What's your
Yeah, I
recommendation?
think it's both way. I think exactly what you said. You know this industry so well. It is driving awareness, and that will
Mm-hmm.
drive competition. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can get it done by one store and then the others in my neighborhood, so I
Yes.
think that will drive competition. And then I do think the OEMs, like we were talking to an OEM this morning who had heard me on another podcast, that they are interested because they want to come up with a full program for their
Mm-hmm.
dealers. So I think you're going to see it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the
Okay.
dealers
Yeah.
who are creative, sorry, dealers who are creative, who are innovative, who, are running out of space. But, I was talking to a dealer in California the other day, and he's like, I'm trying to make a decision between mobile service or investing in a 40,000 square foot facility because I'm so backlogged.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're backlogged just on warranty, recall, like all of that. Think about if you could bring back all those inactive customers.
Yeah, I think it's such a neat thing because I know I would take advantage of it. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A takeaway for our listeners, our dealers, our operators that are listening, our service directors, our service managers. What do you want them to remember about mobile service and this impact that it's having in the dealership, in the industry, on customers?
We were talking right before we started recording, and you were talking about how you always like to leave people with things about them to improve and enhance their career and for them to think about their career. I do
Yes.
think mobile service can make someone's career. I
Mm,
think that they can, it's a new line of business for a
mm-hmm,
dealership. And as long as you think about it as a new line of business and not as an add-on piece of work,
mm-hmm.
how exciting for any of the people you've mentioned to lean in and say, I'll own it and I'll learn how to do it. And Curbee will teach me. But then, a couple years from now, you could be running ten vans.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's a niche, and it's probably not something on a lot of service teams' resume, and it's still so infant. But I can see this being wildly um, uh, uh, popular in dealership service departments. All things take time, but imagine getting great at this thing that nobody else is good at. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Great opportunities. Well, Denise, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for educating us on mobile service, and thank you for sharing your insights. I know you have just a huge resume of leadership out there, and I just really appreciate you sharing your insights and expertise with us. So thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure. And thank you so much for having me.
All right. If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships, all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!